It's incredible. And let me tell you, that level of success, literally transforming our judiciary in 3.5 short years, would not have been possible without the strong and consistent support of Senator Tom Tillis. So North Carolina, right after you get done re-electing President Donald Trump for 4 more years, we need you to send Senator Tom Tillis back to the United States Senate for 6 more years. You know, last month, we rightly paused as a nation to honor the life and service of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But when the memorials were over, President Trump fulfilled his constitutional duty, and he nominated a brilliant, principled, conservative woman who loves the Constitution to the Supreme Court of the United States, Judge Amy Coney Barrett. She's amazing. I'm a little partial to Judge Amy Coney Barrett. You know, she is from Indiana. But she's amazing. The President and I couldn't be more proud of her. It's one of the reasons why we continue to call on Democrats to give Judge Barrett a respectful and dignified confirmation. But we had reason to be concerned, you know, based on what we've seen from the Democrats. You know, all of you may remember when Judge Amy Coney Barrett was being confirmed for the Court of Appeals just a couple short years ago. The Democrat ranking member of the Judiciary Committee actually said she was concerned about Judge Barrett's Catholic faith. She said, quote, "The dogma lives loudly within you." And Hollywood elites started off this time just the same, criticizing her faith and her convictions. Well, I got news for the Democrats and their friends in Hollywood. That dogma lives loudly in me. That dogma lives loudly in you. And that dogma and the right to live, to work, to worship according to the dictates of your faith lives loudly in the Constitution of the United States of America. No, the Senate has a job to do, and after they discharge their duty to advise and consent, I'll make you a prediction. Judge Amy Coney Barrett will soon be Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat. You know, while we're talking about the Supreme Court, yeah, we're going to fill that seat, I promise. Get ready. While we're talking about the Supreme Court, you all in North Carolina deserve to know. After 150 years, with 9 judges on the Supreme Court of the United States, leading Democrats in Washington are talking about packing the court. I mean, Joe Biden a while back refused to answer the question in the presidential debate. You might have seen Kamala Harris wouldn't answer the question when I asked her during our debate. When she was running for president herself in the primaries, she said, and I quote, she was absolutely open to packing the court. But just like Joe Biden, she continues to dodge the question now. Last night during a town hall on one of the networks, Joe Biden actually said he was open to considering packing the court. You know, men and women in North Carolina, I want to tell you, when you're running for the highest office in the land, the American people deserve to know if you're going to respect the highest court in the land. It's time for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Cal Cunningham to come clean. Give the American people a straight answer. You know, the truth of the matter is we all know why they're not answering the question. You know, I like to say I was born in the morning, but not yesterday morning. Right? I mean, the only reason Joe Biden and Kamala Harris aren't going to answer the question is because they're going to pack the Supreme Court with liberal judges if they win. But make no mistake about it. Adding seats to the Supreme Court of the United States and filling them with liberal activist judges would be the biggest power grab in American history. And we are not going to let it happen because we're going to re-elect a Republican majority in the United States Senate, and we're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. We're going to stand for the rule of law and an independent judiciary. It's just that important. It's just that important. I like this guy. So we stood for the rule of law, appointed conservatives to our courts. We stood for an independent judiciary. And President Donald Trump has stood every single day with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement, and we always will. You know, the President and I know what you all know. The men and women who put on the uniform of law enforcement across this country are some of the best people in America. And they deserve the respect of every American every single day. You know, my uncle was a police officer for 25 years in Chicago, Illinois. When I was growing up in that small town in southern Indiana, we used to drive up Chicago on the holidays. I'll never forget the days when me and my 3 brothers, as little boys, would be standing in my grandparents' living room when my uncle would come out of his bedroom with that uniform on, with that sidearm strapped on, and we'd just look up at him in awe. All of my heroes wear uniforms. Now, the President and I will always support the right of every American to peaceful protest. It's enshrined in our Constitution. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. I was in Minneapolis not long ago. I traveled there with a wonderful African-American business owner named Flora Westbrook. Flora told me about the salon she'd established 35 years ago on a street in Minneapolis. It's a pillar of the community. And how just 2 days after the killing of George Floyd, she watched as violent protesters came closer and closer and closer until the night they burned her salon to the ground. She and I stood there along what remained of her salon. And I looked her in the eye and I told her, we're going to make our streets safe again for every American of every race and creed and color, and we're going to rebuild bigger and better than ever before. You know, for months, all Joe Biden talked about was peaceful protesters. Remember, all summer long, that's all we heard. As people around this country literally watched businesses like Flora's burn to the ground. The truth is, Joe Biden would double down on the very policies that are leading to violence in our major cities. I think you all know, when you withdraw support for those who protect and serve, you only embolden those who would do harm to our families and our communities. Now, Joe Biden justifies all of it by saying that America is, in his words, systemically racist. And he says that police have a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When he was asked if he'd support cutting funding for law enforcement, Joe Biden said, quote, yes, absolutely. Well, I'll make you a promise. Under President Donald Trump, we're going to back the blue. We're not going to defund the police, not now, not ever. We are going to have law and order in every city, in every state, for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. You know, I think you all in Selma know what every American knows in their heart. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting the African American families and minorities that live in our major cities. The truth is, our administration has been supporting law enforcement, some 4,000 new police officers on the streets. We launched Operation Legend as we saw violence rise in our major cities. But I also couldn't be more proud to be vice president to a president that saw the lowest unemployment ever recorded for African Americans. We saw the record investment in historically black colleges and universities, so well represented here in North Carolina. We passed opportunity zones that have created investment, and we've supported school choice so that any American of any race or income can choose where their children go to school. We've supported law enforcement, supported our African American communities, and we're going to do both for the next 4 years. So we've stood for the rule of law, for law and order. And from day one, this president has stood strong for the right of every American to live, to work, to worship according to the dictates of your conscience. You know, when Joe Biden was vice president, we saw a steady assault on the religious freedom of Americans. It's true. It's amazing to think the last administration literally hauled the Little Sisters of the Poor into federal court to force that group of nuns who'd taken a vow of lifetime poverty simply to serve the underserved community. Hauled them into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to live under the strictures of Obamacare. President Trump, we've restored the conscience rights of doctors, nurses, teachers, religious charities, and we ended the assault on the Little Sisters of the Poor. And the Supreme Court of the United States made it permanent by a vote of 7-2. I can tell you, people of faith have no greater champion than President Donald Trump. And finally, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris support taxpayer funding of abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, they're calling for historic increases in the largest abortion provider in America and want to fund and promote abortion around the world. I couldn't be more proud to serve alongside a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. So we rebuilt our military. We revived our economy. We stood for law and order, liberties, and life. We did it all in the first 3 years. And let me say, none of that would have been possible without the strong and consistent support of North Carolina's delegation to Congress. That's why when you re-elect President Donald Trump, we need North Carolina to send Congressman David Rouser, Congressman Richard Hudson, and Madison Cawthorn, and all the Republicans in the House back to a new Republican majority and retire Nancy Pelosi once and for all. Let's get it done. I mean, it's amazing. It's humbling for me to have been a part of it. And you look at what we were able to accomplish with Republican majorities in the House and the Senate in those first 2 years. Under this president's leadership in our first 3 years, only one way you can describe it. We made America great again. It's true. And then the coronavirus struck from China. But I'm here to tell you, before the very first documented case of community transmission happened in February, in the month of January, President Donald Trump did what no American president had ever done. He put the health of Americans first. He suspended all travel from China, the second largest economy in the world. Now, Joe Biden said that was, quote, hysterical. He said it was, quote, xenophobic. He actually wrote in the month of January that closing down your border during a pandemic would make things worse. But I can tell you, as head of the White House Coronavirus Task Force, President Donald Trump's decision to shut down all travel from China saved hundreds of thousands of American lives and bought us time to stand up the greatest national mobilization since World War II. It's true. We reinvented testing. More than 120 million tests have been done so far. We saw it in the manufacture and distribution of billions of PPE, medical supplies, and equipments to our incredible doctors and nurses. We've developed medicines that are literally saving lives across the country, and we are on track to have the first safe and effective coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year. That's leadership. And let me say, on behalf of the President and the First Lady, how moved we've all been by the outpouring of prayers and concern for the first family just a few short weeks ago. But the President and I really know that the concern and the prayers expressed for them is just emblematic of the love and the care and the concern and the prayers that Americans have ushered for all of those who have struggled every day over these last 8 months in the midst of this pandemic. And so can we just take a moment? Can we just give a round of applause for the doctors, the nurses, the caregivers, the first responders, and everyone who's been there for family members, neighbors, and friends who've suffered, lost, and struggled in the midst of this pandemic. Heroes all. And I promise you we're going to keep leaning into this every day. The White House Task Force met again today before I left to come to North Carolina. We're making sure that our doctors and nurses and hospitals have all the resources that they need. We're going to keep protecting the vulnerable. We're going to keep saving lives. We'll soon have a vaccine and literally millions of doses available under Operation Warp Speed. In fact, today the President announced a plan with CVS and Walgreens to deliver and administer vaccines to our seniors in nursing homes for free all across America as soon as it's available. So we're making progress. And where Joe Biden is talking about shutting down the economy, under President Donald Trump, we're opening up America again. After losing 22 million jobs at the height of this pandemic, in just the last 5 months, we've seen 11.5 million Americans already go back to work, including 266,000 people right here in the Tar Heel State. We're opening up America, and we are opening up America's schools. I'm proud to report to you that school teacher I've been married to for 35 years is already back in the classroom, teaching art at a little Christian school. And we just authorized the distribution of over 100 million rapid tests, 15-minute tests, and we're shipping them out to school nurses and administrators all across America so we can get our kids back in the classroom and keep them back in the classroom safely where they belong. And it's not just been about what's happening in the classroom. We're back on the gridiron. The ACC has been back for nearly a month. Tar Heel football is back. Wolfpack football is back. Pirates football is back. And in a week, I heard the Tar Heels and the Wolfpack are going to be facing off at Kenan Stadium. How much do you love football in the fall in North Carolina? I don't care who you're for. So we've gone through a time of testing. It's been a challenging year. But in 18 days, we're coming to a time for choosing. That's what brings me here today. It's what brought the president to these grounds 4 years ago, right about this time. The truth of the matter is, for as dramatic as the choice was in 2016, I will tell you, I think the choice in this election has never been clearer. And the stakes have never been higher. It's amazing to think in the middle of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. Right at the time that we're looking to businesses to open their doors to put Americans back to work, they want to crush American businesses with higher taxes. And Joe Biden actually said that he was going to repeal all the Trump tax cuts on day one. That would actually mean the average American family of four would see their taxes go up by about $2,000. Well, men and women, in the midst of an American comeback that's putting more Americans back to work every day, the last thing we need to do is to have Joe Biden raising taxes on every American and every American business. President Trump not only cut taxes before, we're going to keep cutting taxes for middle-class Americans for 4 more years. And Joe, it's not just about taxes. Joe Biden wants to bury our economy under an avalanche of red tape. He's got his own version of the Green New Deal, although he just seems to keep forgetting that he's for it. See that debate last night, not debate, that town hall? Like at George from ABC says to him, well, you said it's the Green New Deal is an important framework. And he was like, yeah, no, it says that, right? But you see, I got to tell you, I had to remind him that he's for the Green New Deal, right? And USA Today even said his version of the Green New Deal, isn't that too different from AOC's version of the Green New Deal? He wants to put us back in the Paris Climate Accord. President Donald Trump has actually advanced policies where we have the cleanest air and land ever recorded, literally the cleanest water in the world, and we're still a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. We can do it all. We can protect our environment and be energy independent. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. And the president was talking today about seniors. Seems like every time an election gets a little closer, Democrats start talking about what Republicans are going to do. And I'm here to tell you, as the president said today down in Fort Myers, President Donald Trump has protected Social Security and Medicare every single day, and we're going to protect it every day for 4 more years. We lowered the cost of prescription drugs. In fact, Medicare Premium Advantage premiums actually fell by 34%, where when Joe Biden was vice president, drug prices literally skyrocketed. And if you look at it, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have a far-left health care plan that literally threatens private health insurance and will limit your choice of doctors. Remember, he actually wants to keep Obamacare going. And suddenly you got a lot of Democrats that like to talk up Obamacare, but I got to tell you, when we took office, Obamacare was a disaster. You remember, they said if you like your doctor, you can keep it. Not true. If you like your health insurance, you can keep it. Wasn't true. They said insurance premiums were going to go down. Well, insurance premiums had doubled by the time we took office. And Joe Biden wants to take us down the pathway to socialized medicine. He's got a public option in his Obamacare. And Bernie Sanders was even bragging not long ago that he's going to be the one writing health care reform if they win the Senate and they win the White House. Well, I'm going to tell you something. With 4 more years, President Donald Trump and I are going to give the American people We're going to lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government. And we will say with one voice, America will never be a socialist country. We're going to reject socialized medicine, and we're going to give Americans medicine and health care based on free market principles and consumer choice. But beyond health care, the choice in this election couldn't be clearer when it comes to trade. So important in a place like North Carolina and all across America. You know, when we took office, literally half of our international trade deficit was with China. We were losing $500 billion a year to communist China. Now, Joe Biden, he's been a cheerleader for communist China every step of the way. It's true. He said that the rise of China economically, giving rise to those incredible deficits, was a positive development. President Trump, we put China on notice. We said the era of economic surrender is over. He imposed tariffs and demanded that China open their markets to what we grow and what we make and respect the private property rights of every American. And when it comes to our neighbors to the north and the south, I don't know about you here in North Carolina, but over in the Hoosier State, in the 25 years since NAFTA, we literally saw entire communities shuttered as factories closed and jobs moved south of the border. And for all those 25 years, Joe Biden never lifted a finger to reform it. But under President Donald Trump, the man who wrote The Art of the Deal, Americans got a great deal. NAFTA is gone. The USMCA is here to stay, and it's a huge win for North Carolina agriculture and North Carolina manufacturing. In fact, I'm actually told that experts suggest that we're going to sell $2.2 billion more in agricultural exports to Canada and Mexico alone. Now, y'all deserve to know, though, Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, was one of only 10 members of the Senate to vote against the USMCA. She said it didn't go far enough on climate change. And Kamala Harris put her radical environmental agenda ahead of North Carolina's farmers, North Carolina's workers. President Donald Trump and I are always going to put American farmers and American workers first. So when you look at the choice, one thing is clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left. Now, Joe Biden says that democracy is on the ballot. And I think our economic recovery is on the ballot. I think law and order are on the ballot. But I also think there are things much more foundational to our country that are on the ballot as well. You know, in this election, I think it's not going to be just whether America ends up more Republican or more Democrat, more conservative or more liberal, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is whether America remains America. Whether we're going to chart a course on all the ideals that Old Glory represents, of freedom, individual responsibilities, and the American dream, or whether we're going to let Joe Biden, the Democratic Party, and the radical left take America to a very different place. Less freedom, less opportunity, and a future of American decline. So let me say, for our freedom, for all the ideals that have always made America great, we need to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States of America. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. that important. It's that important. It's about freedom. You know, it really is great to see you all come out today, and I'm really grateful for it. I'm going to be on the road every day between now and when the polls close, but being here at the farm with all of you is a real privilege. And let me also say it's the greatest privilege of my life to serve as your vice president, and I want to thank you for the honor. I really do. Thank you. It's the greatest privilege of my life to serve alongside this president. You know, I really didn't know him that well before he called me up and asked me to join this ticket a little more than 4 years ago. I'll never forget the night I was at the governor's residence in Indiana. I'd been told the call was coming in. My wife and I had prayed all the way through it. I'd seen this man up close. I'd seen his leadership. I knew he had the right vision to bring this country back. I knew we'd say yes in a heartbeat. It was about 11 o'clock and the phone rang. My wife at my side, I picked up the phone and I heard that familiar voice. And he said, "Mike, it's going to be great." And then he said, "But we're going to have to work. We're going to have to go out. You go north, I'll go south. You go east, I'll go west." He said, "We're going to turn this country around. We got to go out and earn it. We got to go out and tell the story." And after about 5 minutes, he took a breath and I said, "Well, if there's a question in there, the answer is yes." And you know what? He was right. We made America great again in 3 short years, and with 4 more years, we're going to make America even greater still. But it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to do it. You know, the president and I, some people think we're kind of different. But I can tell you, we've gotten to be very close friends. I've seen him when the cameras are off. And I can tell you firsthand, there's not a day gone by against unprecedented opposition that this president hasn't gotten up and fought to keep the promises that he made to the people of this country. Now it's our turn to fight for him. It's on, North Carolina. We need to bring it. So I got a couple things I want to ask you to do over the next 18 days. First off, I need you to vote, North Carolina. I need you to vote for 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. You know, early voting started yesterday. So after we finish up here, if you don't have plans, I'd like you to go over to the Richard Harrison Gymnasium, 601 West Noble Street, and vote to re-elect President Donald Trump. And remember, friends don't let friends vote alone. Bring a family member, bring a neighbor, bring a coworker, and vote to re-elect this president. Secondly, after you vote, I want you to go tell somebody what you heard here today. Okay? I want you to talk to people at work and at worship. I mean, get online, post something on your Facebook page. Say, I was out at the farm, I ran into Mike. I even came out because I thought it was going to rain, I didn't care. And he got up there and talked for like 45 minutes, just giving the top lines of everything we've done and the choice that we face as a nation. You know, I got to tell you, 4 years ago, I never doubted. I never doubted that something very special was happening across the country, and I feel just the same way now. Because the truth of the matter is, 4 years ago, I had the sense that I have today. You know, the American people, in a very real sense, were starting to turn the sound down on all the pundits and the prognosticators on the television. We were just starting to talk to each other. I mean, people started to say, you know, we can have a president again that doesn't apologize for America, but stands up for America on the world stage. We can have an economy that works for everybody and opens the American dream to every American again. We can have a government that respects our values and our freedoms and our highest ideals. We were talking to each other. So that's what I need you to do. I need you to go out and leave here today. Have a real burden on your heart every day to talk to somebody. Because you're going to make the difference in 2020 just like you did in 2016. And finally, I'd encourage you to have faith. You know, I truly do believe in those ancient words that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. So that when we stand for freedom, when we stand with those who are fighting for freedom and defending freedom, we make His work on this earth our own. And that means freedom always wins. So have faith. You know, standing here on the farm, I can't help but think of how many times in that old book my wife and I try and open every morning and reflect on. How many times the Nazarene told us to consider the farmer. Consider the farmer who patiently waits for the land to yield its valuable crop. Waiting for the rain in the fall and the spring. Be patient and have courage. So I just want to encourage each and every one of you. As you vote with a friend, as you reach out and talk to your neighbors and friends every day over the next 18 days, continue to have courage and have faith that He who has seen this nation through much more challenging times than we could possibly imagine is still with us today. That we must not grow weary in doing good, for in due season we'll reap a harvest, because God isn't done with America yet. So pray for America. Pray for all the American people. It'll make a difference. And I'm absolutely convinced if all of us do all that we need to do between now and Election Day, to vote, to spread the word, and to pray, we're going to see another great victory all across North Carolina and all across America. We're going to make North Carolina and America safer than ever before. We're going to make North Carolina and America more prosperous than ever before. And with Congressman David Rouser, Richard Hudson, Madison Cawthorn, and all their colleagues in a new Republican majority in the House of Representatives, with Senator Tom Tillis in a renewed Republican majority in the United States Senate, with President Donald Trump in the White House for 4 more years, and with God's help, we will make America great again. Again. Thank you very much. Thank you, North Carolina. God bless you and God bless America. Let's go get it done.